Welcome to this week's Eternal Monday. I am doing something a little different for Eternal Monday today. We are looking at the ban list update that went into effect this last week with the Surging Sparks ban list update on Thursday. So some of you will be familiar with these changes already. Some of you are now just going to be learning about them for the first time. That's okay. Going forward, I want to try to be a little bit more communicative with the ban list updates for the Eternal format. So I'm going to be trying to regularly put out videos for the ban list updates for the Eternal format where possible. For those who are not familiar, ban list updates typically come out for the Eternal format 2 weeks prior to the official street date for the actual sets. So basically they're supposed to come out the same day as the ban list updates for standard and expanded formats that TPCI puts out for those formats. Obviously, Eternal format is not their format, it's my format. So I'm just echoing their same cadence for updates. Now, with that said, it's a little different for special sets like Shrouded Fable, where the ban list update will go into effect and go live the Thursday prior to release. All the same, you're going to see updates for the various sets as they come out. So expect ban list update videos like this roughly every 3 months. First up, we're going to see some unbans. But before I do, I will just a reminder, this has already gone into effect. These changes already have impacted the format. You can always check out the updates to this on justinbailey.com. Go to the other category and site updates, and the ban list updates always appear in a feed there that are nice and easy to digest. Let's look at the cards that were removed from the ban list. Up first is going to be Glimwood Tangle, but not just Glimwood Tangle, and I'm going to go through these very quickly, so I apologize. But Glimwood Tangle, Victini from Guardians Rising, Victini from Noble Victories, and Trick Coin. All four of these cards were unbanned all at once. Initially they were banned. They were adopted from another alternate format. They were banned because coin flip cards that are requiring coin flips oftentimes will be very, very potent if you can just choose basically what the effect or what the result is. And so these card bans were in place to make sure that the format was in a place where it could handle these things being manipulated. I believe we're at that format, or at that point in the format at this point. So all four of these cards have now been unbanned. So I look forward to being right or wrong about this, depending on how the format evolves. But all four of these cards are now legal. So you can play with Trick Coin. You can play with both the Victinis. You can play with Glimwood Tangle. Have fun flipping all your coins. It's going to be crazy, but have at it. Up next is Lost Remover. Lost Remover is now also legal in the Eternal format. Prior, in order to get rid of special energy cards, you basically need to be running something like Enhanced Hammer or Faba. Now you do not need to burn your supporter card for turn to to reliably burn a special energy card. You can just run a copy of Lost Remover. Lost Remover is going to be especially useful if special energy decks remain crazy popular in the format as they have in the last 6 months or so. So do keep that in mind. How good and how popular this card will be is basically going to come down to how good special energy is in the format. Now, historically, special energy has been pretty freaking good, generally on roughly the same level as special energy in expanded, but obviously this card is not in expanded, so we have a little bit of extra special energy hate now that Lost Remover has returned to the format. Up next is Mewtwo V Union. Mewtwo V Union is being unbanned. Most of the things that were working with it to cause problems have themselves not caused issues, and this card, frankly, is probably fine with them based on the testing we've done so far. So we're gonna let the gear go on this guy and just keep an eye on it. This card is still being watched if it has to return to the ban list, but for now it is off the ban list and is all free reign for Mewtwo V Union fans. It's good. It's a very, very good card. I know some of my friends are very excited about once again testing it with the Gardevoir deck in Eternal format. If you have not played Gardevoir in Eternal format, I welcome you to enjoy it. It is quite a thinker's deck. It's a very, very fun deck to play, but it is quite a thinker's deck. But this card definitely makes it very interesting in a lot of ways because of the tools this card brings to the format. Now, it is a V Union. It is a 3 prize Pokemon still, so it does have that disadvantage, but we'll see how it does going forward. Another unban here, we have Origin Form Dialga V-Star. Origin Form Dialga V-Star got hit along the same time as Dialga GX, both of them from Fervent Light and from Ultra Prism. This card got hit with them because of its Star Chronos attack. However, enough of these multi-turn attacks are now out of the format that this one is safe. The other one's not so much, but this one is still safe. So this one's being pulled out of the ban list and allowed to breathe because it's no longer in a position where it can cause issues like the other attacks we're doing. Additionally, Salazzle was a preemptive ban from Stellar Crown. It's been reevaluated. It's fine. It's being put back in the format without issue. Sometimes preemptive bans are a little too aggressive. This is one of those cases, but I'd rather be safe than sorry and preemptively ban and then go back and test afterward. And in this case, Salazzle comes back. Most of the time we get to at least look at these bans and look at these cards and test these bans prior, or test the reason for these bans rather prior to the release. Salazzle was not one of those in this case, but it is now. It's now been tested, it's now been observed, and it's just not an issue. It's fine. It's back. Now for the cards that are on the ban list, they have now been added to the ban list. These cards are very much an issue. Judging by the reaction to this ban list update on the Discord, I feel like most of these bans were very welcome. This very first ban here is going to surprise no one who is familiar with the Eternal format, because this card has caused major issues for the format over the last 6 months. And that first card is going to be Dragapult EX from Twilight Masquerade and all of its ilk. This card has caused the entire format to warp around it. While it was initially believed that this card was just especially strong and that it had counters in the format, the truth has proved to be very much the opposite. Dragapult's EX only true contender in the Eternal format is itself, and it proved that time and time again as various tournaments happened, and Dragapult was inevitably the winner in every single one of them. It didn't matter the skill or experience of the player of Dragapult. If they could play it functionally, like just getting by, like to the level of a new player playing a theme deck, then they would probably win if the other deck was not also a Dragapult. It's just, this card was extremely oppressive in the format, and it really did cause the whole format to ban around it. We did try other ban considerations. We talked about Double Dragon Energy, but that didn't really matter because Stellar Crown introduced stuff like Sparkling Crystal, like Crispin. There are other ways, of course, to power this up. It basically there was no real good way to hit something that was not this directly, so this card is the one that's going. Basically, anything that would facilitate this card causing the nightmares it did in the Eternal format was considered, but this card is the one that went. So anyway, to let the format breathe, this card got hit. Up next, Green's Exploration. Green's Exploration is such a sad one because I love this card so much, but unfortunately, when you have what are effectively abilities in the format and players don't have to have actual abilities in play and can still use Green's Exploration, you end up in a situation where you're basically not experiencing the downside of Green's Exploration at all. Green's Exploration rather. It's an extremely fun card. It was balanced when it was originally in a standard format. I myself played it in a Guardian deck. It was super fun. In the expanded format, decks that would consider it's just too slow. That meta is extremely super turbo rather. But the flexibility that's offered by Pokemon powers, so Pokebodies, Pokemon powers, or Pokepowers rather, it just means that decks that want to go turbo in the Eternal format, they can do that and not have to contend with the actual disadvantages of using Green's Exploration for their supporter. They have basically all the benefits of having an ability because so many abilities are also available as Pokemon powers. And this card was originally banned, it would have been 2022 that it was on the ban list, and it came off the ban list when Pokédrawer Plus got hit and basically traded places with Pokédrawer Plus. Even though it appeared like it would be safe for Green's Exploration to come back to the format, and even though if initially it did look like it was safe, as the format's developed, it's become very clear that the strength of Pokemon powers, Pokemon bodies, etc., it makes it so Green's Exploration is just a good card, period, instead of being something you have to choose to use and really consider your deck choices with. The result is that Green's Exploration is just too exploitable. Just use older cards that have the same effect as an ability. You can stall, you can mill, you can control all the things you want to control with Green's Exploration, and that's really against the spirit of this card. And so to make sure that this card is treated as it should have been treated, and to make sure that the games are a little bit more fair for decks that are actually trying to make considerations, Green's Exploration has been banned in the Eternal format and probably will never come back. Unfortunately, it will probably never come back to the format's actual legal list because of how potent it is as a card. It's one of those cards that looks really innocent, and it really was innocent in standard, but unfortunately it's just not with this card pool. Next is Magneton from Surging Sparks. Many people anticipated this particular ban because it joins a whole host of other cards just like it that give up prize cards in exchange for some sort of specific advantage. In this case, you're accelerating a bunch of basic energy cards from your discard pile to your Pokemon. So cards like Miss Magius from Broken Bronze, a bunch of different Electrodes. Magneton joins them because it's just too exploitable. Between the consistency of the format, the acceleration that this card offers, the fact that you're manipulating prize cards, all of that in combination is what makes cards like this one a problem in the format because of consistency. There's just so much consistency in the format that cards like this ones, they really cause problems. People complain about Dusclops and Dust Noir in standard format, both of cards which, by the way, are banned in Eternal for similar reasons. It's just cards like this are too exploitable, and you have so many comeback cards, comeback options, that instead of actually serving as comeback cards or comeback options, oftentimes these cards will become tools of abuse, and cards like this facilitate that. So this one is gone. Sad, because Magneton's one of my favorite Pokemon, but it is what it is. Up next is Magneton GX from Forbidden Light. Specifically, the Forbidden Light one, there are two different Magnetons. This is the one with Stinger GX, which actually is the reason it got hit. This card can be used, or rather could be used, in combination with other cards that would create unpreventable checkmate situations. So to break those combinations, to prevent them from happening in the game, to make sure that you can actually play the game, Magneton, it's been hit. Unfortunately, the checkmates that it could establish were such that if your opponent basically got to play the game at all, if the Magneton player got to play the game at all, they would secure victory unless you like board wiped them turn 1. So Magneton unfortunately has to go. And then Smeargle. Smeargle is a fun one because Smeargle is joining 2 other cards that are actually banned for exactly the same reason. This one unfortunately was missed earlier. It happens. The card pool is huge. But this card is translated incorrectly. You see the phrase except anything else required in order to use that attack, which that's not the intent of this attack. It's basically meant to say, hey, you can just not have to copy the energy costs. You just, do what it's supposed to do what the text tells you to do, meet the requirements for it otherwise. So stuff like Sketch, stuff like the attacks on Clefable and Clefairy, they're able to copy attacks like Giratina V-Star with no requirement of actually, like the V-Star power that is, with no actual requirement of having 10 cards in the Lost Zone, for example. Things like that, because of this wording, it's a little sketchier, if you will, pun intended in this case. And so Smeargle and those other 2, unless they receive an errata or are printed in a way that refreshes this card, this is out of the format because of the potential rulings issue with the translation error here. And then another card that people very much expected to hit the ban list here is Tsugi EX. This joins other cards that are similar to it in that if a card is able to pull Pokemon into the game, or pull evolution Pokemon into the game turn 1 fairly reliably, which you can absolutely do with this card, then they're pretty much always going to get hit because it allows you to facilitate a lot of control or lock heavy Pokemon in play before your opponent really gets to do much of anything. So in this case, something like Double Dragon Energy, Max Elixir, Crispin, etc. If you're going second, you can guarantee have Vileplume and Dusknoir and whatever oppressive cards you want out before your opponent gets their chance to breathe, right? And I'm trying to minimize that kind of interaction in the game. Obviously, you're going to have some of that to a degree, but I want a little bit more effort to be put into those. And Tsugi is such that as a Pokemon that can be put you can put a Double Dragon Energy on, all these different things, and it's too much. And then you have all this consistency too, so you can like control exactly which cards you want on the top of your deck before you use Cinnabar Lure. It's a little too much, and effects like this are super cool for the Eternal format, but they also tend to be a bit too much for the format because of the consistency the format has. So Tsugi is gone. Unfortunately, you may probably never see play in Standard because your attack cost is ridiculous. But if you do, cool. Unfortunately, you won't be seeing it in Eternal. And the last card that's joining the ban list this go around is Walrein from Cosmic Eclipse. Walrein went under the radar for a while. I've had my eye on it. It's been on the red list, but the biggest issue this card has is actually not the card's fault itself. It's the wording of Cold Snap, and that wording specifically in combination with card or attack copying attacks and abilities. So Walrein's Cold Snap reads, your opponent can't play any trainer cards from their hand during their next turn. If one of your Pokemon used Cold Snap during your last turn, this attack can't be used. So the problem here is that Pokemon that have attack copying effects, stuff like Slowking or Alakazam Star, for example, when they're doing an attack, they're using that attack specifically to copy Cold Snap, which means that if they're using a skill copy, for example, on Alakazam Star, they're not using Cold Snap. So when the game goes to check, did this player use Cold Snap during the last turn? The answer is no, which means that they can repeatedly copy Cold Snap over and over and over again, entirely locking their opponent out of any sort of trainer card. And that has very clearly been designed against here with Walrein, but because there's been no way to abuse that until Slowking in Standard format, people haven't been keeping an eye on it. And the last card that's being added to the ban list is Walrein from Cosmic Eclipse. The wording of this card's Cold Snap attack is intended to create a game state check that prevents the trainer lock effect from being spammed turn after turn after turn. Again, this is trainer lock, not item lock, which is extremely oppressive. So you're supposed to be able to breathe every other turn. However, card copying effects like that on Alakazam Star and Slowking from Stellar Crown mean that it's not Cold Snap that actually was used during the last turn, but skill copy or seek inspiration respectively. And this results in both of these copying Pokemon being able to copy this effect turn after turn without any breath in between, right? So you're just spamming Trainer Lock in a way that's not intended to be possible. And because of the potency of full Trainer Lock in the game and the inability of the game's logic to check for the effect of Cold Snap having been used instead of Cold Snap itself, this card's been hit so that the game doesn't devolve into just, okay, who can get Cold Snap out first? That is the end of this ban list update. I think this is a very good ban list update. I think it's going to make for some very interesting, very healthy games. I know a lot of people are extremely excited in particular about the ban of Dragapult EX and about the unban of Origin Form Dialga V-Star among the coin flipping cards. But I'm just glad that this is a ban list update that people can appreciate. I know not every ban update is liked in this format or is loved immediately, but the effort is there. The thought is put into the ban list updates, and I think the format is a really fun one. And I look forward to where the format will go going forward after this ban list update. Again, that is all for today and for Eternal Monday this week. I hope you all have a great one. I will see you in the next video.